Hello knitters, Barbara Benson here. I'm an independent knitwear designer who also likes to make videos here on my YouTube channel, Watch Barbara Knit. If you would like to know more about my knitwear designs, please check in the description below where you will find a link to my Ravelry page, and there you can browse all of the pictures of patterns that I have made. And if you'd like to knit one up yourself, you can purchase a PDF and knit it up. If you do decide to knit one of my patterns, I would absolutely love to hear about it. You can either chat with me in the comments below about it, or you will also find a link in the description to my Watch Barbara Knit Facebook groups, and I'd love to have you join us there, and we can chat there and ask questions and share pictures and, do Facebook type stuff. There's also going to be all kinds of fun stuff in the description today, because today is Favorite 5 Day. What I do is, these are my right now favorite fives, like as this moment. I am not saying that these are the absolute best patterns out there. They're not the most popular patterns. These are just the ones that have tickled my fancy as of right now. And I pick a theme every month and do that. We have already done patterns for super variegated yarn, and we did shawls with really beautiful edgings. And today, at the suggestion of Denise in the comments below of the last video, excuse me, we are going to do beaded knitting. She said she was fascinated by knitting with beads, and let me tell you, I love knitting with beads too. So these are my top 5 beaded knitting patterns as of right now. The first one I want to talk about, and I actually looked up how to pronounce this, is Cellino. And this is a shawl by Rosemary, but she goes by Romy Hill. And one thing I found in looking through a lot of beaded knitting patterns is that for designers who like to do beads, they do a lot of beaded pieces. So I really encourage you to not only click on the links below to see the individual patterns I'm talking about, but look at, if you like the beaded stuff, look at their Ravelry page and you will see many different things, because it was really hard to pick just one from the designers I chose. This one I chose, Romy has many beautiful beaded pieces, but I chose it specifically because this is actually the very first beaded piece that I myself ever knit. And I even have this here to show you. This is my version of Cellino. Cellino? Yeah. I messed it up already. And as you can see, it has beautiful, beautiful beads. It was a challenge for me because the body has, it says like place a couple hundred beads randomly. And I'm not good at random, but if you're good at random, this one will float your boat. But it's got beads through the body, and then beaded here and a beaded binder. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It has this beautiful Estonian technique here. This lotus shape is absolutely amazing. I just love this shawl and wanted to share it with you. It is, let me check, I've got it's from the 7 Small Shawls to Knit Year 1, the Pleiades. So Cellino is one of the Pleiades, I am assuming. And let's see, it takes light fingering about 420 to 400 yards. And I have the pattern page up over here so I can give you all the information. Boop-be-doop-be-doo. It should say someplace. I'm sure the pattern tells you how many beads you need. But applied with a crochet hook, that is my preferred way of applying beads. So this is Cellino. Gorgeous. That is the only one I have to show you. Now, the next one, I could have done all beaded shawls, but I wanted to get a variety. So the next one this is another designer who has done a huge amount of beaded pieces, and this is Sevilla Harding. She does absolutely beautiful shawls and cowls and sweaters and just everything. But I selected this one because if you are really wanting to get into knitting, I thought this was a great pattern. These are beaded button bracelets, and the pattern actually has 4 different bracelets that you can make. And she says she uses a variety of different beading techniques, so you could learn different ways to do the beads. I pretty much only ever put them on with crochet hooks, but I'm sure there are different things in this one. So if you wanted to get into figuring out different ways to do beaded knitting, this is, I think, a great pattern, and it makes just little cuffs, so you don't need a whole lot of yarn. You can have fun with beads, and as she said, you know, they're great as gifts, so you can learn and be making stuff. So I think these are beautiful. I now want to make beaded bracelets, so I might be doing this in my spare time. So this again is Sevilla Harding beaded button bracelets. Now, moving on, as I said, I wanted to have a variety. I just find this piece stunning. It isn't elaborately beaded, but it is perfectly beaded. This is called Gledholt, and it is by Anne Kingstone, and it is in her book, Lace Knits, Magical Methods for Open Work Knitting. And I'm going to read you the description because you know what? I'm not the best at sweaters, so she said, this clever top-down pullover begins with the ribbing, continues with the lace overlay, and then finishes with the rest of the sweater, worked in the round with princess line waist shaping. This garment is an entirely seamless knit. So just right there, how she accomplished this, the layers and everything, but what you have is you have this layer of lace overlaid on top of the yoke. So it's still a warm sweater, but these strategically placed beads on this incredibly delicate lace, I just think I think it's spectacular. I think it's beautiful and subtle and a wonderful example of beading not going. You don't have to, I mean, you can go overboard on beads, and I love going overboard on beads, but you can also use beads. It's really subtle. I mean, saying something subtly beaded sounds kind of crazy, but this is a really subtle effect, and I think it's just beautiful. So Gledholt by Anne Kingstone. And let's see what I have next. This one. If you are on Ravelry, you have probably seen this shawl. It is just stunning, by Laura Aylor. I probably pronounced that wrong. I'm sorry. Faberge. And I love this shawl. I couldn't get away with just one shawl, so sorry guys. It has, the body has that kind of eyelet, just a gentle eyelet that's almost, it's lace, but it's almost more a texture than anything else. And then it goes into this quilted pattern. I'm pretty sure it's using a lifted stitch technique, where what you do is you slip stitches with the color in front, or maybe not because it's the opposing color. Again, this is one of those that I would really need to get the pattern because I'm fascinated by how she achieved this effect, and I love it. But as you can see, at each juncture, there is that bead, and I think it just, and Faberge is the perfect name for this because it really does evoke the Faberge eggs, but these little beads placed on the grid work, I just think is beautiful. And I'm pretty sure that the weight of the beads probably makes this shawl sit very nicely. And that's one thing I love about beads and shawls, is it helps the shawl stay on your body. So this is Faberge by Laura Aylor. And it's beautiful, and it's an example. I had the one, Cellino, is a very lacy beaded shawl, and this is to show that beads don't have to be foofy lacy. I mean, as I mentioned last time, I like foofy lacy, but it's amazing what you can do with beads. And then the 5th pattern of my fave 5, this is in no order whatsoever, is here. This is the Peacock Cowl by Stephanie Talent. And from the day this pattern came out, I have loved it. It is a combination of, let me see. It's got intarsia, it's 3 colors, and it is just, it's just absolutely beautiful. I am blown away by this piece. It is a work of art, and I think the beads on the peacock's tail it just blows me away. They're just absolutely beautiful and perfectly placed. And then the beads and the flowers, I just love it. I love it so much. These also have a pair of matching mitts, fingerless mitts with the peacock, and then buttons, and I love the tiny buttons. It's just beautiful. And I think the combination in this cowl of the tiny buttons with the beads, it just rounds it all out. And again, this is an example of a few strategically placed beads just hitting just right. So this is the Peacock Cowl by Stephanie Talent. It's got that cute little picot hem board. I just love this cowl. It's so pretty. So if you're feeling a little ambitious, because this has got the color work and the beading and some picot and some buttons, I really say go for this piece. One day I will knit it. And actually, it's funny. She says, sit down with a cup of coffee or tea and take your time. Because, yes. Oh, this is interesting. I'm reading the thing. The flowers, you've got duplicate stitch. Oh, interesting. So it's got embroidery too. So it's knit in 3 colors, but then you duplicate stitch on other elements. This sounds like an incredibly fun project. So those are my 5 favorite beaded patterns right now. And of course, since I actually do have beaded patterns, I've got one for you that's mine. It's back here and I'm going to grab it. This is my shawl, Bitter Blue. If you've watched my YouTube channel for a while, you may have seen it before. And this is not subtly beaded. The idea behind it was using a gradient yarn and then using 4 different colors of beads and working the beads in a gradient. So you can see up here, it starts with blue and then it shifts into a more blue-green and then a green-yellow, and then eventually it goes completely gold. And I wanted, this has a lot of weight. You've got beads on the trim, but then the beads that run in rows. And I needed to do the rows the way they are so that you could actually get that gradient effect. I think if I used fewer beads, the gradient effect maybe wouldn't have been so terribly visible. So this is my shawl, Bitter Blue. The yarn is the Unique Sheep, and it uses 4 colors of beads, and I love this piece. It wasn't my first beaded piece that I designed, but right now it's my favorite. I have a couple other ones, but I don't know. I like this piece. So those are my 5 favorite, plus a little bonus knitting patterns with beads. I think most of them use the beads applied with a crochet hook, but I'm pretty sure that the beaded cuff patterns, the bracelet patterns, have different techniques if you really want to learn. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it the thumbs up and click that like button. And if you would like to be notified whenever I upload a new video, please subscribe to my channel and select notifications. Thank you so much.